Hello, and welcome to our video guide for the very strong and flexible Elementalist build. The Lightning Conduit is a very powerful combo spell that consumes shock on your enemies to deal a massive amount of damage. It can't shock by itself, which means you will have to use a second skill to apply it. It is nearly impossible to effectively automate it. The passive sources of shock, such as shocked ground or skitterbots, have a significant cooldown on reapplying that effect. The best option for that is Orb of Storm, which periodically strikes nearby enemies with Lightning Bolt, but it also triggers every time you cast a lightning spell in its proximity. It is slightly faster than Lightning Conduit, meaning it will always apply shock just before the conduit consumes it to deal damage. The Elementalist Ascendancy is a must-pick here. The Shaper of Storms always applies at least 25% shock with any hit, which can very easily be scaled up to 65% with effect of non-damaging ailments, which means over 300% more damage for the Lightning Conduit on top of the usual increase to enemy damage taken. The updated Liege of the Primordial also became a much more efficient route to scale your damage. It now requires just 2 Ascendancy points instead of 4 to get the full benefits, making it much easier to approach. On top of that, the base golem effects are considerably stronger and have additional bonuses such as mana regeneration or global defenses. The cast speed is always a useful modifier for casters, but here it is especially important as you can't use the spell Echo Support, as the repeats do not trigger the Orb of Storm. In the Mercenary League, the Lightning archetypes can benefit greatly from Doriani's prototype and lucky damage for free. The build can achieve very high survivability. You will block and evade most incoming attacks, suppress spells, and the Golem of Safeguarding absorbs half of the incoming melee hits. You will also have a high amount of energy shield with great recovery and be immune to chaos damage. The clear speed is excellent, thanks to the high speed and explosions, but it requires using 2 skills for each pack of monsters. The Lightning Conduit excels at single target damage right from the start. You won't have problems taking down even the strongest bosses. The newly buffed golems provide tons of free power, making the build very affordable and effective on a low budget. There are no unique items necessary for the functionality, but there are plenty of options to choose from to get more damage or utility. There are also some options to pick at a low budget until you can get a proper rare items. The quality bonus provided by the Ashes of the Stars on the Lightning Conduit significantly improves your damage based on the shock you inflict. It will also improve the effect of your golems and speed up your shield charge. The 3 extra gem levels for Lightning Conduit provide more upfront damage, especially at lower investment levels. It also provides a bit of reservation efficiency, which may be useful without the Enlightened support. A very cheap and powerful weapon that can be used for quite a long time before you find a better rare wand. It requires being in close range to hinder enemies and enable its damage bonus, but you will need to stay close to enemies due to the Orb of Storms anyway. Later on, you can give this weapon to your mercenary to slow enemies down. Another great starting unique, this shield provides a lot of block chance, empowers your critical strikes, and adds a bit of cold damage, which makes shattering enemies with the Herald of Ice easier. If you can get a decent Elder Ring for your other slot, pairing it with the Mark of the Shaper Ring will provide tons of damage and increase your energy shield at the same time for a cheap price. Later on, you will want a proper rare ring. This jewel adds certain modifiers to nearby notables. The bonuses are random, but they always grant tons of dexterity, which is useful to fulfill the requirements, and you can use Path of Building tool to find good modifiers. On the Watcher's Eye jewel, look for offensive modifiers for Wrath and Zealotry, but do not neglect the powerful defensive bonuses of the Grace Aura. Modifiers that grant elemental penetration are weak for this setup. The spellcaster setups are quite typical and full of rare items. You will need bonuses for gem levels, increases to your spell damage and critical strikes, as well as cast speed and flat lightning damage. For defense, you will need to use hybrid bases to get the energy shield and spell suppression. On your weapon, you will want a mix of increases to lightning or spell damage, added flat lightning damage for spells, extra gem levels, cast speed, and critical strike chance and multiplier. Do not limit your searches to just wands. Daggers or scepters are often undervalued for this reason. Your shield can provide tons of energy shield, block chance, and spell suppression, but it can also grant a lot of damage via gem levels, spell damage, and critical strike chance for spells. You should balance the offensive and defensive modifiers to your preferences here. Your helmet should be a pure energy shield base to maximize the benefits of the energy shield mastery. It can still provide a bit of spell suppression via the crafting bench. On the body armor, you will need a high amount of energy shield and evasion rating, but the spell suppression is also important. It can also grant you frenzy charges, improve your block chance, and shift physical damage to be taken as chaos damage, for which you are immune. The gloves are another defensive piece. Look for high energy shield, spell suppression, and elemental resistance. Use Eldritch Influence to get Unnerve and Lightning exposure. The exposure effect will be overwritten by your mercenary, but it is still useful for clearing and mana sustain. The boots are quite similar to your gloves, but provide even less energy shield, as you will have to sacrifice one prefix to get movement speed. If you have a suffix to spare, you could use the crafting bench to increase the effect of your ailments. At first, getting gear with suppression while capping resistance and fulfilling attribute requirements will be hard. Use a rare amulet to help solve those problems, but it still should provide a bit of damage via additional gem level. The energy shield modifiers on your rings are not impressive unless you add the Crusader influence. We recommend a more offensive approach by buying a ring with fractured cast speed and using Essence of Scorn to get critical strike multiplier until you get one high resistance or attribute and craft the mana cost reduction. There are plenty of options here. You can use the Stygian Vise to get an additional Abyss Jewel, or Crystal Belt for a solid amount of flat energy shield. For its modifiers, it can provide even more energy shield, strength, cover lacking resistance, and improve your flasks depending on what your build needs the most at the given moment. If you use an Abyss Jewel, look for increases to your cast speed or critical strike chance, cover lacking resistances and attributes, or get additional energy shield, or protect yourself against corrupting blood. Rare jewels are the best source of critical strike multiplier, but if you want multiple such modifiers, it can quickly get expensive. They should also provide an energy shield or cover lacking resistances and attributes. Optionally, you can use them to lower the duration of bleeds on you, which is often an overlooked modifier. On the large cluster jewel, you can opt for the pure damage notables, but if you can't reliably inflict 65% shock, you should get notables that boost the effects of your non-damaging ailments. Both of the medium cluster jewels should significantly improve your critical strikes and give you a chance to deal double damage. You could also improve your shocks here, but it is better done elsewhere. This flask massively improves your clear speed by creating elemental explosions upon killing an enemy. It should be one of your first purchases to make the build more enjoyable, but as shown at the beginning of the showcase, it is not necessary for functionality. Bottled Faith is a very powerful offensive flask that massively increases your critical strike chance and damage against enemies standing on the consecrated ground. At a lower budget, it should be replaced by a diamond flask. For your base magic flask setup, we recommend a defensive set that grants you evasion, phasing, and plenty of movement speed. The anti-bleed modifier on utility flask is pretty bad, as it significantly lowers its duration. You should solve it elsewhere. In the current league, the mercenaries have become an essential part of every build. The lightning builds benefit the most out of all archetypes, as you can trivialize the Doriani's prototype to get massive bonuses without dealing with the downsides of this armor. The mercenary of choice is the Fallen Reverend, as it can give you 2 offensive auras at the same time. The most important piece is the Doriani's prototype. With this armor, your mercenary will overwrite enemy lightning resistances with his own, which you can bring down to negative 200%. Thanks to the hidden damage reduction of the mercenaries, it doesn't put them at risk of dying to lightning damage at all. To make proper use of the body armor, you will have to use the special mirrored jewelry, which can double the bonuses and put them into negative values. You don't need the highest values at first. Start with lower rolls and ensure your mercenary can stay alive. Vol's Vision provides a massive amount of life regeneration, resistance, and bonus maximum life, but you have to avoid using corrupted items. Immortal Flesh is another powerful source of life regeneration. It also lowers all elemental resistances, which in this case is a benefit as it will contribute towards the Doriani's prototype. The Perquel's Toe Amulet makes your hits lucky, which causes all your damage to roll twice and choose the higher amount. It is very powerful for the lightning archetypes. You can anoint one of the aura notables to boost your damage, or boost your mercenary survivability with a defensive notable such as Deflection, Infused Flesh, or Hardy. To help your mercenary stay alive, give him a shield that has a high chance to block attacks and recovers maximum life upon block. The rare gloves should improve the life regeneration of your mercenary and provide non-lightning resistance. The leech and extinguish effects are also useful to keep him alive. The boots should provide very similar bonuses. You won't need movement speed here, which drastically lowers the price. The amount of armor gained from boots or gloves is insignificant. You shouldn't overpay just for that. Lightning Conduit consumes the shock effect on all enemies within radius to deal a massive amount of damage based on the shock effect. It deals no damage if there are no shocks at all. You can't use the spell Echo Support here, as the repeats do not trigger the Orb of Storm Strikes. The Elemental Focus prevents Herald explosions. Until you get the Oriath's End Flask, it should be replaced by the Hypothermia support. Orb of Storms strikes nearby enemies with chaining bolts that inflict heavy shock. Its damage is irrelevant for the shock value. With the Unbound Ailments and Critical Mastery, you will have no problems inflicting maximum shock. You can also use a level 1 Arcane Surge support to activate the buff without spending high amounts of mana. It is a hybrid build, so the Grace is a very useful defensive aura to boost your evasion rating by a significant amount. Discipline is another important defensive aura. This one grants you extra energy shield. Tempest Shield improves your spell block chance and makes you immune to shock. Its counterattacks also inflict shock for the Lightning Conduit, but it is not very reliable. Shattering an enemy creates a cold explosion that can finish the rest of the monster pack, or inflict shock for the Lightning Conduit. Wrath is an offensive aura that improves your lightning damage with spells. It should be provided by your mercenary. Zealotry is another offensive aura. It grants you damage and critical strike chance. The Enlightened support is not necessary, but you will have a very small amount of usable mana without it, which may be uncomfortable to play. Shield Charge performs a fast charge towards the targeted location. You can also use Frostblink of Wintry Blast. Use the faster attack support to improve your movement. If you want to use Frostblink of Wintry Blast, use the faster casting support instead. The regular Frostblink is an instant teleport used to supplement your movement for better maneuverability. As an Elementalist, you will have access to 4 powerful golems. First of them is the Flame Golem, which improves your damage and area of effect. The Stone Golem grants you a lot of life regeneration, which will be converted into energy shield regeneration. It also boosts your global defenses. The Lightning Golem massively improves your cast speed and mana regeneration. It is strong enough to solve your mana sustain by itself. The Ice Golem improves your critical strike chance. At later stages, it becomes redundant and should be replaced with a defensive option. The Transfigured Stone Golem of Safeguarding absorbs a large amount of incoming melee damage. It serves a purpose of a guard skill with a 4-second cooldown, not a permanent damage reduction. The Assassin's Mark is a curse that improves your critical strikes against the target and allows you to generate power charges. Sigil of Power creates a sigil on the ground that improves as you keep spending mana while inside it. It will improve your damage and weaken the enemies. Kill all 3 bandits to get 1 additional passive skill point, or help Alira to make gearing easier and cheaper. The Chaos Inoculation Keystone makes you susceptible to stuns and freezes. The Major Soul of the Brine King will help you with both. Usually the Soul of Ralakesh is enough to trivialize most bleed effects in the game. If Ignite and Burning Ground are more problematic, use the Soul of Abarath instead. The leveling process is very easy and straightforward. The Lightning Conduit unlocks at level 28, but it also requires the Shaper of Storms notable. We recommend leveling up to that point with lightning tendrils, which you will unlock at the very first visit in town. Even though the final build uses Chaos Inoculation Keystone, during the campaign you should invest only in the maximum life. The energy shield is heavily dependent on your items and requires plenty of investments to be effective. You should then gradually transition to hybrid and energy shield setups as you obtain better gear, and avoid chaos damage until you get the full immunity. The final passive tree is very rich in valuable resources. The lightning notables not only grant you the simple damage bonuses, but also improve the effect of your shocks and unlock the lightning masteries. There you can get the ailment spread effect and raise the maximum shock by 15%. The build is very flexible and can be adjusted for most elemental spells in the game, although reaching the potential of Lightning Conduit will not be easy. We hope this guide answered all your questions regarding the build, but if you still want to know more or have a request for a specific build in the future, please leave a comment or subscribe to the channel. Have a great day and see you in the next video.